Hello and welcome to today's episode of Bushcraft and Prepping Podcast with me, Josh Johnston. On today's show, we are joined with guest speaker Sam Johnston, and we will also be looking at Bushcraft and eBay. So, let's go on with the show. So yes, welcome to today's show. For the first 15 minutes, I'm going to be talking about Bushcraft and eBay, and then later on we will be joined by guest speaker Sam Johnston, ex-militant and expert survival instructor. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to be talking about Bushcraft and eBay. Now, a lot of people out there are adamant they only want the best of the best kit, and they're only going to buy it from the best of the best places. But in reality, you don't need to go out and spend loads of money. Bushcraft isn't about having the best kit. Bushcraft isn't about having most expensive brands. It's about basically what you have and turning it into something different. So it shouldn't really be that fixated around money. I know a lot of people go out and spend a lot of money on their bushcraft, but the core of bushcraft is reuse, recycle. So eBay is a good thing to use if you're looking for something, but you don't want to spend loads of money. And I would highly recommend getting most of your kit second hand, because you're going to have to spend quite a bit of money on something that's first hand and perfect condition. And that might not be money that you have. That might be money you want to dedicate into something else, or money you want to put into something else that you like prepping or something. So you kind of need to think where your limit of money is. Are you going to go out and spend £300 a time on bushcraft? Are you going to go and get a £200 knife? Are you going to go and spend an extra £15 to have the word Bear Grylls plastered all over your knife, which in my honest opinion I think kind of ruins a knife? Not literally, but some of you all know what I mean. So eBay is a great place for people beginning to get into bushcraft. They have second-hand stuff that you can use, from boots to walkie-talkies to not knives, some knives actually, saw wire, Lapland saws, anything you want you can find second-hand online on eBay, and a majority of the time they are cheaper than buying them at full price. As well as eBay, you have places like AliExpress and occasionally Amazon, but I prefer to stick with eBay and AliExpress, because I know that although I'm not getting great quality, I'm still getting quality. So look at all your kit that you've got so far. Try and add up a total amount of how much you spent, and then go onto eBay, look at all the stuff and see how much you could have saved. And I buy a lot of my kit off eBay. I bought those credit card size fire magnifying lighters. I brought my flint and steel. I brought paracord. I brought loads of things. And it's also good for like military bags and military equipment. Quite cheap. And as I said earlier, it's not about the price. It's about, does it work? If I can get a battered ex-military mug for a couple of quid on eBay, it will work just as fine as buying a 10, 12 quid brand new one, shiny polished, from, I don't know, Cups R Rust or something. So you've got to, again, think of, why do I want to spend extra money when I could be buying something that will serve its purpose anyway, but for less? I think in regards to prepping as well, you kind of have to be clever when it comes to price, because you've got to try and, obviously in a prepper's mind, it's buy as much food as you can, do as much this, do as much that, and obviously you haven't got an infinite amount of money, so you need to think, how can I share out my money? So eBay is a very good place to start when you're trying to buy more for less. On the other hand, I'm sure there are some people out there who have millions to spend on this. I'm probably speaking to a few people who will just go out and spend, and that's fine because obviously you have the money, but for those who don't have unlimited amount of money, eBay is a good place to get second-hand stuff just to save money. Also, there are plenty of Facebook sites where you can trade, sell bushcraft and prepping materials. The Great British Bushcraft page occasionally sells stuff. I know there's a lot of raffle things on the UK Preparedness Network. Then there's a Bushcraft trading post. You could, if you look, you will find. I guess it's another point of you have to be bothered. You have to make that more. You have to make more effort to be able to get. So I brought a flint and steel, credit card, magnifying firelighters, some chain, saw chain, the chain things that you saw through branches with, a couple of matches, a waterproof bag, and an army mug, and for under £10. And that's quite good, but from buying everything brand new, I saved about 10-15 quid, and that's 10-15 quid that I can invest into more cheap eBay buyings. So it's kind of being clever about it, really. You've got to kind of use your head a little bit instead of your instant gut feeling to go out and buy loads of stuff. Okay, so from now on, every week I will be having a guest speaker speaking on a particular topic to do with their field of expertise. As I said, this week I have Sam Johnston, and I've had quite a lot of feedback on the various Facebook pages saying that they'd be interested. So if you'd be interested in speaking on my podcast, please contact me, and I'm sure we'll be able to sort something out. Everything is pre-recorded and done via Skype. Also, remember, there is a Facebook page for this site, so we can discuss everything I talk about. That's Bushcraft and symbol prepping podcast. And if you put that into Facebook, then you'll have all the latest information from me, Josh, and you'll be able to add and share information with other people who are intrigued in bushcraft. There are also other pages like the Great British Bushcraft page, the UK Preparedness Network, and the Be Prepared Today show's Facebook page. Also, I urge every one of you who hasn't bought tickets to the Bushcraft show yet for next year, please go and buy them. It's a great opportunity. You'll regret it if you don't, and you'll basically have a great time. You'll learn loads of new skills. You'll meet loads of new people. It's basically just a really good place to socialise, develop your knowledge, but have fun. And that's what it's all about. It's having fun. And to have a serious topic that is also fun is something very special, as I've said on previous shows. So please show your support to anything bushcraft, anything prepping, and thank you. I also want to announce that in the close future I will be starting to write a book on bushcraft and prepping, title not decided yet, which will be available on the Kindle store and other various ebook sites for purchase. So watch this space for more on that. And before we quickly move on to Sam Johnston, I just want to say thank you for all the support I've been getting through this podcast. It's now my third podcast, and I've had more than 100 views over the course of the last two, and I hope to receive more. I'll also try and get them up on YouTube soon, once my YouTube starts working, and we will go from there. Now on the line we have Sam Johnston, so I hope you enjoy listening to him. Let's see what he has to say. So Samuel, can you tell us a bit about yourself before we get started?
Definitely. My name is Sam. I am the operations manager for the Ultimate Survival Company based in the Oxford area, but we do operate around the country. I've got an undergraduate degree in outdoor education, currently finishing up my master's degree. I'm ex-army, fought over in Afghanistan for 9 months. I studied in Norway, learning from the locals there, friluftsliv and their forms of outdoor education. And I've currently just come back from hiking on the Appalachian Trail, east coast of the United States.
So a very busy man. What's it like in Afghanistan?
Hot and busy, I think is the way I go about it.
Definitely sounds like an experience of a lifetime.
Definitely, yeah.
So,
sure.
What would you say is your main approach to bushcraft and survival?
I think it's basically a merge of bushcraft and survival. I see them as two separate identities, But while studying in Norway, I came across an ideology called friluftsliv, which means open air living. Now, while studying that, I managed to ream in my extremely man urges to go and climb to the top of mountains or do the biggest river, focused more on the idea of journeys. And I'm sure anybody who works within the bushcraft industry or enjoys bushcrafting understands that the whole idea of bushcraft is going on journeys. The learning experience is a journey, and the outcomes themselves are journeys. So that's my approach to bushcraft.
So would you consider yourself as an expert?
I'm definitely a professional in the field, but I'm always learning, and I'm sure there's people out there with a lot more qualification and a lot more experience than myself. But I do teach others, and I feel as though I'm comfortable with my ability to survive in the environment.
So who would you say your role model is? Who kind of like inspired you? Any particular people?
Well, that's a good one. That's a good one. Some of the main pioneers that were going across Canada and America, all the way down to the age-old argument of Ray Mears or Bear Grylls. I think that there's good points to both of them. I would probably, if I was stuck on a desert island, rather be with Ray Mears, to be honest. So that would have to be where my bid is.
Okay, so what is your attitude and opinion to kids in bushcraft? Should they be treated the same as adults, or should there be a distinct difference?
I feel that age doesn't really matter when you come into these sort of topics. It's a learning journey, and everybody within those classes, everyone within those situations is learning something for the first time. Now, there's many circumstances where children have been dropped into incredible scenarios. There's one of a child in a jungle in Brunei. She landed out of a helicopter. By mistake, it crashed, and she managed to survive a week in the wilds off only what she learnt on a week-long scout trip. And there's plenty of us that wouldn't have been able to do that. So for me, bushcraft is a learning experience shared by children and adults alike. We can both learn from each other.
If you were head of education, would you think that it should be more implied at school? Not hardcore bushcraft, but like a basic survival background.
100%. I think the school system is designed for us to be able to conform and flourish in our economy and within our local political landscape. But bushcraft is a way of learning to survive within our earth, within our environment and our landscape. That is much more, it's much more heavily needed within our curriculum, rather than maybe some of the other subjects. I think that it wouldn't only benefit health or sporting, it would actually benefit psychological. It's a multidisciplinary, curriculum learning experience, so definitely 100%.
Do you have any strong memories as a child of bushcraft, or is it only something recently you've taken an interest in?
No, I definitely did. I think that bushcraft is ingrained from a young age, really, not only from my parents, but I grew up in South Wales on the side of a mountain with 11 boys all my own age, living in the couple of houses around me. So we spent our weekends and evenings out on the hill, building camps and learning how to, clean water from the rivers and having loads of fun. So for me, it was ingrained from a young age.
Thank you very much. So you seem to be very passionate about this subject. What would you say your main strength and your main area would be?
I like to think that my expertise lie in giving people those journeys, as we've already talked about, using tools such as journaling and reflection, and being able to take a minute to actually conceptualize the learning that they've done, not only in a bushcraft technical sense, but not actually just going into the woods just to learn how to build a fire, how to clean water, how to build tools, but we're conceptualizing that learning into the real day life of people. So we're bringing it into the curriculum, we're bringing it into the workplace, into their family lives, so that we can actually conceptualize the learning and get deeper, more indigenous, in-depth, breadth and depth of learning from these experiences.
Would you say this is a very social topic, which when you kind of get involved, it kind of opens up new opportunities with other people?
I'd say it definitely does. Bushcraft, there's two trails of thought, really. There's the extremist prepper survival bushcrafter who generally tends to do it to get away from people. Then on the other side, you have people that want to go out and learn, that they want to go out and experience the landscape, and experience is always better shared. Once you get into it professionally, it is quite a small industry. So you do make friends, you go on courses, you go on meets. There's a lot of groups on social media. And once you get involved in them, there's a lot of people with very similar lifestyle choices, very similar ideals and ideologies about how we should be living in the modern age. So yes, definitely.
Last week on my podcast, I spoke about how integrating bushcraft, prepping, and social life skills kind of emphasises your chances of survival wherever you are. Would you agree that if to survive to live, you'd rather survive to live than prepare to survive? Because
definitely. I think that there is a difference between surviving in a short case, a sort of an immediate scenario, rather than looking at preparing a survival strategy where you can live a longer distance, you can live much longer time more comfortably. So survival is generally a slash and burn and kill anything you need to survive that immediate situation. Then you have bushcraft and some of the other more indigenous people's ideas, which surrounds preparing yourself with older knowledge so that you're ready to go into that environment, live with it more entwined, long term, and actually flourish within that environment rather than just survive cold, wet, and hungry. So yeah, I think that there is two different trails of thoughts. But for me personally, some people would call it prepping, preparation, relearning old skills, or even historical learning. But for me, it's about learning how people used to live in the environment before we have the tools of modern society, and about putting those into practice so that if the worst case scenarios did happen, that I would feel quite comfortably doing that. The old term of a bird doesn't feel safe because it trusts the branch that it's standing on. I think it says it pretty well.
would you say that, as you said, there is also prepping, and would you say that preppers kind of dismiss the fact that they might not be able to get to their bug out location, they might not be at their preps at the time of an emergency, and to have this basic survival knowledge wherever they find themselves, whether they're with their hard work or they're not, they can still sustain themselves because they've taken that extra 5 minutes to learn the survival basics?
I think so, yeah, definitely. There's the good thing about prepping, and especially in some of the states in America, if you have the money and you have the infrastructure and the finance, you can build incredible bunkers, you can stockpile a lot of food, but that is all dependent on that one location. So what you've really done is, rather than being able to live within the environment, the landscape that you're in, you've created a microclimate for yourself, which isn't just an extreme condensed version of modern society for you to stay in. And that is still limited. Those situations and those people are designing a scenario where hopefully they can be rescued, or the old ways of running society are going to come back, rather than if they took the time and took maybe it's going back a step for them, but to really look at the basics of where's the nearest water supply to me, how can I harvest food, what things can I grow and plant, what are the seasonal foods. If they start to look at these form of ideas, then I think they probably last a bit longer. That these preppers, as we call them, are really preparing for a natural catastrophe or a natural incident. They tend to be more the extreme zombie apocalypses, or man-made extreme warfare, or something that is generated by man. And really, if you're in that scenario, if you're in that man-made disaster, you need to not depend on what man has already made. You need to look back at the landscape and live within that.
They prepare out of fear, would you say?
For fear, yes, rather than a love for the landscape that they're in, and the skills that they can learn, the journeys that they can go on. And really, they're not long-term plans. Once those supplies have run out, once those generators go, they're still going to be in the dark with no food, and they're going to be pretty cold.
Yeah. So, obviously, back to bushcraft. A couple of 100 years ago, what we see now as a hobby would have been life. So, do you think it's possible to return that to life, or do you think we should try and get as far as we can in the hobby?
Well, that's a deep question. One that many papers have been written about. There are places within Norway, just for one example, that as an economy they are trying it. They're trying to grow locally, eat locally within a 30-mile radius, so that their food is seasonal. All electricity comes from hydroelectric dams and rivers, and they are trying to do that. They are still, however, using technology, and there's a lot of people out there that think that technology will be the answer to all of the problems. I would probably say not, but I feel that it as a hobby can lead you to have the knowledge so that you can live within that style, rather than keeping it as a political and social experiment. Bring it as part of your life, and you're much more prepared for whatever comes your way.
Nice. So, when you were in the army, how much bushcraft and survival did you gain from the army?
To be honest with you,
did they
not a
emphasise it?
great deal, really. Again, with the military, you are dependent still on your rations. You're still dependent on the infrastructure of the military. There are more elite soldiers. There are soldiers in the special forces that go through the training. But for me, I was an artillery soldier. That wasn't a part of our training. So for us, it was learning to survive in a war zone or in a battle, rather than living within a landscape without anybody else there. So what it gave me was a deeper understanding of the psychological aspects that I would be going through in a survival scenario, rather than the survival skills themselves.
Do you think it could have been more focused on, or?
I think it could have, definitely. I think that simply within basic training, that is something that could well be brought in, and would give benefit, along with reflection and conceptualization, that can lead to much better soldiering.
Would you say taking an interest in bushcraft and seeing everything differently, do you think it changes a person's perspective on life?
I think it is definitely. To go back to the Norwegian philosophies, that they would call it a rich life with simple means. The idea being that you don't need much to live a beautiful and flourishing life. And I think that if more people learn to understand that ideology, people would live less cluttered lives and much more deeply interesting ones.
So, it seems that you have a very active and adventurous life in this area. What other hobbies do you have, or yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy writing. I really enjoy that. It's a great outlet, an artistic outlet. I'm a GNAS archery instructor, so Grand National Archery instructor. So I enjoy doing that. That also then leads me on to the bushcraft side of things. But archery in a sports sense. I love traveling, gaining new experiences and learning from other people around the world, gaining new perspectives, and many other outdoor sports, really. I'm a big fan of a sport called coast steering, which is exploring the coastline with wetsuits on, helmets, buoyant shades. So I'm an instructor in that. I love taking groups there because it's a real foreign environment for them, and they get to really experience nature up front, getting splashed by waves on the cliffs, and it's a really dynamic area. So those would probably be some of my core hobbies.
Have you got any messages or anything you'd like to say to the people listening, or anything at all?
Yeah, I think that. Do you want me to say it now?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I think that if you're a parent of a child, I would encourage you to give your children those experiences in the natural environment. Give them the opportunity to learn those skills and learn more about themselves in those environments. If you're a child, I would encourage you to step away from whatever technology you're connected to and get out there into the environment and really enjoy having fun out there, exploring, being adventurous, having loads of fun. If you are a business owner, I would encourage you to allow your staff to have the time to get out there and enjoy it, and encourage them to do so, because it'll make them much more productive when they come back. And if you are in government, you need to get outdoor education into the curriculum, and you need to encourage people to get out there as well.
Thank you very much. Well, it's been great having you on the show.
Thank you very much. It was great to be here.
I'm sure we'll see you on some sort of TV programme in the future.
Yeah, let's hope so. That'll be good.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and we hope to hear from you again soon.
That sounds great. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Wow. Round of applause for Sam. That was brilliant. And I hope I end up like him when I'm older. So much knowledge and so much passion. It's just brilliant. So we're coming to the end of the show today, and next week we will be back at the same time on Thursday. If you're interested in speaking, then please give me a buzz. Please let me know. But until then, I wish you the best in your bushcraft and prepping in the further week. So keep bushcrafting, keep prepping, keep loving it, and I'll see you next week.